Hey, it's Kim Thompson, and this is Q&A Day. And today's question comes from Lydia in Arizona. And Lydia is asking about starting a business. She says, I have many different ideas for a business, many different interests, and things that I think I am quite good at. I'm not quite sure which to start, which one would be lucrative, and which I should develop into a business. What do you suggest? Okay, Lydia, thanks so much for bringing this up. There is actually a term for this. It's called multi-passionate entrepreneurs. And that is because there are many of us that have a lot of different ideas and interests and a lot of things that we are good at. And we want to develop many different things. But here's the catch in that. You have to truly start with just one thing and have the success in that first before you can start branching off into other areas. Not all of us have this gleaming, crystal clear vision of what we want to do, especially when we're first starting out, and particularly if we have been in any kind of structured environment for any length of time. Because when we decide to start our own business, most of us do so because we want the freedom and the financial opportunities that can come along with that. But when we step out, it's almost as if the blinders are off, and now our mind is open to so many different possibilities that it's hard to really start to focus. And of course, when you don't have focused energy, it's hard to take decisive action towards your goal. So even though you may want to do many different things, and you can down the road, you have to start with one area. So here's an exercise that I think will help you. First, get out a piece of paper and just draw a line down the middle of it. And then on one side, you're going to write all of your strengths and maybe where you've even had your most recent success. And on the other side, you're going to write your interests. And then you want to start to look for the overlap. See if there's items that begin to correspond with each other. And once you've done that, you want to now write those corresponding items, those things down on a separate piece of paper. And then you want to rank those in along or according to the ones that most resonate with you, the ones that seem to be the most enjoyable to you, or where you think you could really spend a lot of your time and just get lost in that. For me, it was writing. That's something that I absolutely love to do. And so when I did this exercise initially, that was the one that I would rank probably, I think it was my number one or number two spot. So you're going to take a look at the things that overlap, and then you're going to write those down on a separate piece of paper, and then you're going to rank those according to what really just kind of makes you come alive, where you feel like you could spend most of your time. Once you've done that, then you want to actually take it a step further, because now what you're going to do is start taking a look at how these maybe relate to some of the ideas that you have in your head. So now you want to create an idea journal. This is where you want to start writing down all those possibilities that have been floating around in your head. And when you do that, you start to see, are these actually going to be pulling in the things that I just wrote down that I consider my interests and my strengths and that I have ranked high on my list? And do those correspond now with the ideas that I have for a business that I'm writing down in my journal? And as you write these things down, you want to ask yourself a lot of questions. You want to get really specific with these questions. You want to ask yourself, what is it about this idea that really stands out to me, that excites me? What would it be like if I were to develop this idea into a full-fledged business? How long would that take? How much time would I have to devote to it? Who would I be working with? Can I do this by myself? Or is this something that I'm going to build a team around? Is it something that I would have to expand down the road into having an office maybe outside of the home? And is that something that you want to do? So you really start playing around with that and asking yourself a lot of questions. Now, not just ask the questions, but start getting into the feeling that is associated with the answers to those questions, because it always is going to come back to that feeling. When it's starting to resonate with you, then it's something that you can really stick with in the long haul. I'll give you an example. When I first started in the online space, I knew I wanted to create an online magazine. I just wasn't quite sure what it was going to be at first. And I looked to where I'd had my most recent success. Now for me, I was in the corporate incentive meeting business. And so I decided I was going to create an online publication for meeting planners. And from that, I ended up creating a content development business, content development and marketing business for the hospitality industry. And then from that, an event production company. But at one point, I seriously considered taking that online magazine and branching into different areas. I thought about creating regional publications. What would it be like if I went into New York or Dallas or San Francisco? I started looking even at franchise models, and I started playing around with the idea and writing out everything that I could think of that was associated with expanding that magazine. And is it something that I really wanted to do? Would I have to go to regional meetings? Would I have to hire a sales team? Would I have to oversee that? Do I want to travel that much? Is it an industry that I really want to continue to go into and develop? And then I asked myself, what really excites me about this idea? What excites me about the venture here? What would it be like? And for me, my answer was that I truly enjoyed building and expanding businesses. It wasn't so much the publication that was making me feel alive. It was the thrill of building and expanding businesses. Well, I was doing that by creating a content development business and by creating my event production company, and of course now into the coaching business. That was where I thrived. So I had to get really detailed with it first though, and that only came from really taking a look at my strengths, my interests, ranking those, and then of course asking myself a series of questions. You want to put your ideas on paper first and then develop them on paper by asking yourself those questions, because remember, success is in the details. So Lydia, I hope that helps you. Please drop me a line and let me know how you're doing with this. And if you have any thoughts on today's questions or on my question or on my answers to that question, please feel free to leave me a comment down below. And if you have a question for me, go ahead and email me at support@KimKellyThompson, and I will put that email down below as well.